Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be showcasing a trainer who is able to climb from rank 1 in Go Battle League all the way up to 3200 ELO and the global leaderboards in only 330 total battles. And the team they use to help that happen is a team featuring Berserker in the Ultra Premier Cup. The team has Shadow Machamp on the lead, Berserker, and Shadow Charizard in the back, and this trainer puts on an absolute clinic with it. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out the team in action in the Ultra Premier Cup. Hopping to the first match, picking up a very tough lead, Shadow Machamp into Shadow Charizard. Charizard on the lead is a core breaker for this team as it can hit both the Machamp and the Berserker in the back for super effective damage. Machamp farming up and able to win CMP over the Charizard. Rock Slide gets the shield, and at this point you just let the Machamp go. Machamp got some nice chip damage on the Charizard, got a shield advantage, and now you can send in your own. Going for the Dragon Claw, but the opponent makes a very nice catch, saving their Shadow Charizard for later and catching on to their Walrein. Walrein will be met with Berserker. Berserker, of course, does have access to close combat, and the close combat is fired on the CMP tie. Very precise gameplay. Close combat is, of course, going to KO. Opponent sends back in the Shadow Charizard. Charizard going for a move. We see the shield from the Berserker, and it is the Blast Burn. Berserker continuing to farm. Berserker may actually be able to get the Shadow Claw farm down here. Charizard fires off Blast Burn number 2. Charizard gets the farm down. Berserker has so much energy in the back. The opponent has a Powder Snow Alolan Ninetales, and Berserker with energy is about to be deadly. Berserker farming up, already almost at 2 more close combats here. Close combat, able to land. They're forced to fire off a move, and that means that Shadow Charizard can finish off this game. In comes the Shadow Charizard. Ninetales will reach a Weather Ball, but that's not going to be enough to KO the Shadow Charizard. Charizard tanks the Weather Ball, makes it to the Blast Burn, and to add a little insult to injury, overfarmed to force a CMP tie. Blast Burn KOs, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Shadow Machamp into Ampharos. Definitely nice to catch the Ampharos on the lead considering there is a Charizard in the back. Machamp farming up a ton of energy here. Machamp goes for the Rock Slide, and the opponent catches onto Jellicent. They think they caught a Cross Chop, but instead they catch a neutral Rock Slide. In comes Berserker. Berserker will be able to outpace and fire off this Foul Play just before Jellicent makes it to the Shadow Ball. Foul Play lands, Jellicent barely able to hang on, and they are able to reach the last second Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball connects, getting Berserker deep into the yellow. Opponent is going to send in their final Pokemon, which is Scrafty, and Scrafty is going to have a terrible time, as Scrafty is now going to be forced to go up against either the Charizard or the Shadow Machamp. I believe the Scrafty just threw that blind power-up punch, so that's not going to be doing a lot of damage here. They did buff up their attack. Opponent going to bank energy and send in the Ampharos. Charizard lets it through. It's just a Brutal Swing, and we see the catch of Brutal Swing number 2 onto the Shadow Machamp. You have got to be kidding me. What a play. Machamp continuing to farm up, going for the Cross Chop here. Cross Chop will be lethal onto the Ampharos. Ampharos is going to let that through. In comes the Scrafty. Scrafty gets the farm down. Scrafty has all the energy in the world, but so does the Shadow Charizard. Blast Burn gets the shield, and it's a CMP tie. 2 shields remaining. Odds are the Scrafty probably just go straight power-up punch, but since you have 2 shields, may as well put them to good use here, as Charizard needs to try and preserve HP to make it to the killing move here. Charizard makes it to the Blast Burn, and that will be game over, as Blast Burn cooks the Scrafty and secures the victory. Hopping into the next match, picking up a dream lead, Shadow Machamp into Obstagoon. Opponent is going to save switch into Charizard, and Machamp is going to stay in this matchup, but is met with an early Dragon Claw. Machamp is going to commit the shield, but Machamp can very easily get that shield back as it's going to return fire with the Rock Slide. Rock Slide does grab the shield, and now we see a switch, and we'll have the Charizard mirror. But the important thing is that Machamp was able to get a nice amount of chip damage onto the opposing Zard, meaning that while his Zard can actually tank a Blast Burn, the opponent's is no longer able to do so. Going for the Blast Burn here. Blast Burn is going to KO the Charizard. Back in comes Obstagoon. Obstagoon looking for the farm down, but Shadow Charizard will not be denied. Makes it to the Blast Burn and leaves a parting gift of massive neutral damage. Going to wait the clock here as the timers are desynced. Gonna send in the Shadow Machamp. Clock still not quite up yet. Machamp is gonna go for the Rock Slide, and then we'll be able to switch out and send in Berserker. Rock Slide gets the shield, in comes Berserker, and Berserker of course is going to be resisting the Frenzy Plants from the Venusaur. Venusaur fires off the Frenzy Plant, Berserker is able to tank that. Frenzy Plant number 2 from the Venu, and again we see the no shield from the Berserker. Very knowledgeable in the fact that Berserker is going to be able to tank that move. Farming up a ton of energy, going for the foul play onto the Venusaur here. Foul play, gets the Venusaur low. Berserker is gonna let this through and trust in Machamp to win this game. In comes the Machamp. Obstagoon has a move, so saving the shield proves to be a very good idea. Machamp going for the farm down, farms down the Obstagoon. In comes the Venusaur, gets the farm down as well, and that is a good game. Moving into the next match, we've got a tough lead, Shadow Machamp into another Charizard. Same game plan as before, gonna play out this lead, aim for shield advantage. Opponent only goes for Dragon Claw here, so Machamp does not have to shield. Machamp is going to be able to farm up, make it to the Rock Slide, and grab that early shield advantage. And then with shield advantage, hope that the combination of Shadow Charizard and Berserker are able to sweep in the end game. In comes the Shadow Charizard, farming up, going for the Dragon Claw, but losing CMP to the opponent. That is a bit unfortunate. Opponent goes for the Dragon Claw, going to return fire with the Dragon Claw of his own. This Dragon Claw will get the opponent very low. Opponent gonna save the Zard for later and bring in Shadow Snorlax. Snorlax is going to be met with a Shadow Blast Burn here. This will do a lot of neutral damage. Opponent burns the final shield, and in comes Berserker. Berserker farming up. Opponent does have a lot of energy here, calls the bait, and it's a Body Slam. What a call. At this point, opponent probably just going to go straight Body Slam because the Berserker's health is rapidly diminishing. Berserker continuing to farm, making it to the back-to-back close combat tier, launching close combat number 1. Close combat lands, barely not enough to KO. Snorlax hanging on with 1 HP, able to reach one final move. That's very unfortunate. Opponent going to send back in the Charizard. Charizard did save some energy here. Charizard, Blast Burn, down goes Berserker. You just have to hope the Shadow Zard can sweep. It cannot. And that is a good game. Picking up a great lead in the next match, Shadow Machamp into another Obstagoon. Opponent will immediately save switch into Waterfall Primarina, which will be answered with Berserker. Berserker's charge moves may be resisted here, but the Shadow Claws are adding up quite a bit. Berserker is going to commit the shield. Opponent goes for the Moonblast, and Berserker is going to begin to launch the counterattack with a foul play. Foul play onto the Primarina, gets a shield, so the opponent looking to try and take switch advantage, but Berserker is just too spammy. Berserker makes it to foul play number 2. That's going to get Primarina low. Berserker gets the farm down and leaves with the close combat loaded to threaten the Obstagoon. In comes the Obstagoon, close combat, nearly one-shots as they're able to get the farm down. Aggressive switch into the Shadow Charizard, and it's an Alolan Ninetales in the back. Tried to go for a catch there, sending in the Shadow Machamp. Machamp making it to the Rock Slide. Rock Slide gets the shield. Ninetales has all the energy in the world, but it's not going to matter because Charizard has a Blast Burn, but unfortunately the charge move actually doesn't show up for Charizard there. So Charizard, unfortunately, does have to burn the final shield, but will win the game regardless as Blast Burn KOs the Ninetales and farms down the Obstagoon. The Charizard leads continue in the next match, as we've seen not the best matchup ever for Shadow Machamp, but at the very least Machamp is going to be able to grab that shield advantage, building up to the Rock Slide, baiting with the Cross Chop this time, still able to get the shield, and once that shield advantage has been obtained, just letting the Machamp go. Opponent goes for the Dragon Claw. This will allow them to get some energy as they wing attack down, but now in comes the Shadow Charizard with a shield advantage. Opponent does have energy, opponent fires off the Dragon Claw, and that's no shielded by the Shadow Zard. Shadow Zard continues to farm. Opponent reaches another move. Now we do finally see a shield be used on the Shadow Charizard. Charizard farming up. This Dragon Claw will be enough to KO the opponent's Zard, and then we'll have to see what they have in the back. Down goes the Zard in the back. They have Shadow Machamp, so this is looking like the opponent is running Zard Double Fighter, and if so, that is really bad news for Berserker. Blast Burn gets the shield. Opposing Machamp looking for the farm down, but Charizard able to reach a Dragon Claw. This will get the opponent very low. Machamp looks for the farm down. It's a simultaneous KO, and in the back, the opponent has a Surf Edged. These counters absolutely shredding through this poor Berserker. Berserker makes it to the close combat here. Close combat onto the duck. It's a simultaneous KO, and that's game over. Great lead for Shadow Machamp in the next match, leading into a Stunfisk. Opponent safe switches into an XL Pelipper. That's not something you see every day. Berserker able to answer the Pelipper. Berserker firing off the foul play here. Foul play will deal some solid chip damage onto the Pelipper. And Pelipper, since it's going up against a Steel type, is forced to go for Weather Ball in this matchup. Weather Ball number 1 able to land. They're going for Weather Ball number 2 here. Berserker trying to make it to a second foul play to threaten the KO. Berserker farming up, able to win CMP again over the Pelipper. Very precise counting. That foul play is going to KO. Opponent going to send in the Galarian Stunfisk. Berserker able to hang on due to that overfarm, make it to the close combat, and grab a shield from the opponent. In comes Shadow Machamp. Opponent does have some energy here on the Stunfisk, but Champ lets it through. Just a Rock Slide in the back. Opponent has Pidgeot, but this is a Gust Pidgeot there. Opponent actually got the 0-turn bring in, so unfortunately, they were actually able to sneak a Gust there. In comes the Shadow Charizard. Charizard is going to shield up. Pidgeot goes for the Feather Dance, but now Charizard can look to overfarm massively in this matchup. Shadow Charizard's attack has been lowered, but it's not going to feel that way when the Blast Burn lands. Able to not quite farm down, but win CMP with the Dragon Claw over Pidgeot. Dragon Claw KOs, in comes the Stunfisk, and that is a good game. We've got a battle of shadows in the next match, Shadow Machamp versus Shadow Kingdra. Machamp staying in this matchup as the counter damage is adding up quite a bit onto the Kingdra. Machamp farming up, going for the Rock Slide, would do slightly more than a Cross Chop here. Rock Slide does get shielded by the opponent. Opponent will fire off an Octazooka. Decision time for Shadow Machamp. Machamp commits the shield. Do we see the attack debuff? Yes, we do! Machamp able to reach a Cross Chop. This is debuffed, however. Debuffed Cross Chop still KOs the Shadow Kingdra, and in comes Shadow Walrein to get the farm. Walrein did get 3 Powder Snows, meaning they're going to lose CMP to the Berserker. Berserker reaches the close combat as they make it to the Earthquake here. Close combat, KOs in the back. The opponent has their own Charizard, and this could actually be scary, as an opposing Charizard up energy will put in a lot of work in this endgame. Dragon Claw is going to be no shielded by the opponent, continuing to farm, making it to Dragon Claw number 2. And if the opponent is able to farm up to 100 energy here, then honestly, things could get difficult very, very quickly. Shadow Charizard lets this through. It's the Blast Burn, and I think at this point you may have to call a bait as the Berserker to try and win the game. Berserker lets it through. It's the Blast Burn, and that's game over. We've got a Core Breaker on the lead in the next match, Shadow Machamp into Dragalge. Dragalge, of course, does have a lot of play against both the Machamp and the Charizard. Shadow Machamp gonna stay in this matchup, and like with the Charizard lead, go for the Rock Slide here, trying to grab an early shield advantage, and then my guess is we're gonna see a no shield from the Machamp, and then just trusting in the backline with shield advantage to win the game. Dragalge goes for the Aqua Tail. We do see the no shield from the Machamp, and in comes Berserker. Berserker, of course, down on energy, but does have that ever important shield advantage. Dragalge lands the Aqua Tail. Berserker farming up. They're able to fire off Aqua Tail number 2, and again, Berserker is fine with letting this through. Berserker looking to overfarm quite a bit. Opponent goes for a catch onto Powder Snow Alolan Ninetales, but they're going to be met with a close combat from Berserker. It's a Shadow Alolan Ninetales as well. Berserker going for close combat number 2 here. Close combat is going to KO, looking to pivot into the Shadow Charizard. Shadow Charizard with the shield advantage is one of the most deadly Pokemon in the game. In comes Dragalge. Dragalge, these Dragon Tails adding up quite a bit, going up against this Charizard, but Charizard looking for the wing attack farm down, gets the farm down of Dragalge, and the opponent concedes the match. Hopping into the final match, leading Shadow Machamp into Swampert. Very happy to catch this Swampert on the lead, as Swampert does exceedingly well versus the backline. Swampert is going to strike first, going for the Hydro Cannon. Machamp is going to let this through. Hydro Cannon does a lot, but Machamp is able to tank it. Machamp firing off the Cross Chop into the Swampert here. Cross Chop is going to land. Opponent goes for a catch onto their Charizard, but Charizard will be met with the Rock Slide from Machamp. Machamp gets a shield. Machamp is farmed down, but now in comes the Shadow Charizard. Shadow Charizard farming up. Opponent will fire some energy before Charizard makes it to the Blast Burn. Opponent's Blast Burn gets the Shadow Charizard into the red, but Charizard is going to return fire with a Blast Burn of its own. That's going to get the opponent low. Aggressive switch into Berserker, and we get the farm down, and the opponent concedes the match. All in all, being able to climb from rank 1 to 3200 ELO and the global leaderboards in only 330 battles is quite the accomplishment. And this trainer did it with, I would say, a pretty off-meta choice in Berserker, which is a good reminder that if you continue to focus on improving your gameplay, learning your counts, learning when you throw your charge moves, how you play the game, and your skill level there, oftentimes matters quite a bit more than the Pokemon that you're actually using. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.